Hey, how's it going today? And we are taking a look at managing our timeline and specifically our clip size in iClone 8. Right now, I'm just in iClone 8.4, the latest version, and I'm in the standard workspace. So what I want to do first is just close these windows because I don't need them and they're taking up a lot of my real estate on the screen. Then if I hit F3, I can bring up the timeline. And by default, this isn't showing, I don't think, the default view, but I want to zoom out here. By default, what you should see is when you open your timeline is that there's an 1800 frame standard default view. At 60 frames per second, 1800 frames would be a 30-second clip. So the timeline right now by default accommodates a 30-second clip at 60 frames per second. But let's say that's not how I'm going to be working with iClone. I'm going to be rendering out my scenes individually. Maybe my average scene length will be 10 to 15 seconds or 10 seconds. And then I'm going to render those scenes out, and then I'm going to do my assembly editing and my compositing in another program like Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to do my editing there. I'm not going to do my putting the master sequence together here. I'm just rendering out one scene at a time, and those scenes aren't anywhere near 30 seconds long. They're only like 10 seconds long. So how do I rein this space in so that I'm just working with 300 frames and not 1800? Well, there's a couple ways you can do it, and we're going to kind of walk over that right now. Just in terms of timeline control and controlling what's on the timeline, there's this real handy button over here, and if you click it, it controls what's on the actual timeline. So right now, the only thing on there is the project, and if I unclick this, I have nothing on my timeline right now, but I'll go ahead and leave the project on there. So I've got the project on there, but it's way too big. Well, one thing you could do is, well, let me point out a couple things real fast. So there's this control here, which I would recommend using for moving your playhead around. If you click this one, it's going to move it to the very first frame, 0 frame. And if I click this control, it's going to take it to the very end. And there's these markers on here. If we come here, there's these markers at the very first frame. If I go back to the first frame here, let me pull off here, you'll see this marker here, and that's your start frame marker. And at the very end over here on the 1800th frame, there's your end frame marker. Well, like I said earlier, that's way bigger than I need it to be. So I just want to, let's say, have a 300 frame clip that I'm working with, which will be much easier to control in this space. So I think the easiest way to do it would be to come here on frame where it says frame, and we'll just enter in 300. And that's going to move my playhead exactly to the 300th frame. This is the size of the clip that I want to work with, not this whole thing. So what I can then do is hit this control here and set my end frame marker. So now I have a 300 frame clip still on an 1800 frame timeline. So to manage this, one thing you could do is you could come here to this control, click zoom in, and then just try to zoom in on this little section, but then you still got all this extra stuff. So what the easiest thing to do would be to come over here to edit, go to your project settings, and here under in frame, set this value to, you could set it to 300, maybe a little bit more, even 310 or something like that, and then just close that window. And then once you've done that, you can come back to this control here and go fit to window. You've got your clip, your 300 frame clip, all within this much more manageable space now. And so this is, I think, the fastest way to get a handle on your timeline in terms of managing, in terms of clip size. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Take care, have a great day. And I do plan on the first of the year making a lot more tutorials on iClone 8. I hope you stay tuned for those. So take care, and I'll talk to you next time.